What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 91 of my Total War Warhammer 3 modded, no, not, well, sort of modded Ikit Claw Immortal Empires campaign. So as we saw last time, Bilefitch was at it again, taking out High Queen Khalida as she tried to attack the Misty Mountain. Fortunately, he was victorious, Khalida's army destroyed, and we are now free to probably move southward, especially if we can get a few more units into Bilefitch's army. We ended off last episode with this, 2 stacks of just piles upon piles of artillery, and deciding that they wanted a piece of Ikit. Well, they're certainly going to get a piece of Ikit, whether that's, whether that's what they want or what, or what they've come looking for, I guess they'll find out once they get into a fight with him. I am excited for this because there are just giant piles of artillery here, which are pretty much the only thing that are a threat to Ikit's army. So now let's see what they can do. Here we go.
Good, yes!
A good yes, alrighty. Well, Ikit's happy about all this, by the looks of it. The fools have come to try their hand at dealing with him and Pumpernickel, and I somehow doubt that they're going to succeed. Ikit's going to start off by moving into this little forested area, mostly because the enemy has a lot of artillery, and trying to hit him while he's in here is going to be quite an issue for them. And he is going to charge forward, and he's going to try to get a few spells off on the artillery pieces, though of course dodging them as best he can. He isn't super worried about taking a lot of damage, mostly because he can heal himself. Alrighty, gonna start off by using a Scorch on the enemy line of artillery. It's not a great spell to be using against dwarfs in general, because it has low armor piercing, and specifically also not against artillery. It basically did no damage, but it is also super cheap, so better than nothing, and it caused Ikit to basically heal to full health. And there we go. And in the meantime, while the enemy has been focused on Ikit himself, the Eye Takers have moved in and are beginning to start working on the first of the enemy cannons, and the other 2 units of Jezzails are going to follow suit on the rest. We got a minute to go before the main reinforcing force arrives, the more threatening one, and damn, look at all those organ guns there. 5 organ guns in a single army. Makes me jealous for my own dwarf campaign, but we'll get there eventually. Anyway, we need to try to do as much as we can to this first army before that second one arrives. We are going to be keeping back our warp fire throwers and our rattling guns hidden in these wooded territories until the enemy closes the distance. We don't want them to get hit by enemy artillery. But our own artillery, including both of our units of warlock engineers and our avalanche mortars, are going to be visible to essentially force the enemy to concentrate on them and move toward them only for our warp fire throwers and rattling guns to hit them, hopefully in the flanks. We'll see how that actually works out. Otherwise, Ikit's going to continue his annoyance of the enemy. He's not going to directly charge in, though he could. I'd rather not risk him getting stuck in a pile of iron breakers or something, because they are in here. He is, however, going to pop a brass orb, hopefully to hit a few of those cannons or grudge throwers or whatever he can. Once again, it is the artillery, really, and that's the only big threat here. Well, I suppose the entire enemy army is a threat, but the rest of the army wouldn't be a threat if the artillery wasn't here, as the artillery would allow them to approach. Oh damn, look at all those trees blocking the shots from our Jezzails. That ain't so great. Hopefully a few are still hitting. It does look like several of the artillery pieces are starting to get fairly low on HP. Gonna pop another Scorch, because it's so cheap once again. And there we go, got more shots from the rest of the artillery moving in. Or from the rest of the Jezzails. But it does look like most of the enemy artillery are still alive, and the enemy reinforcements are now on the field. Gotta double time it there, Jezzails. We got, I don't know, 3 times as many artillery as the enemy started with. And gotta start knocking them off the field. Alrighty, we also have a unit of gyrocopters here. We'll probably want to knock that out as well long before they reach the Jezzails, so they will be switching targets to the gyrocopters instead, just briefly. Though the longer we stay and fire, the more likely the artillery will spot our Jezzails and start firing on them. Ikit's also taken a few hits, but once again, as long as he hasn't reached his healing cap, he doesn't really care. And the gyrocopters are in trouble already and have lost one of their 4 units and are down to about 25% HP, so I don't imagine they'll be all that threatening. We're also going to switch and target at least a few of the enemy Trollhammer torpedoes and Iron Drakes in general, and because it does look like the enemy army will begin to approach us. Fortunately, we can back off with our Jezzails and allow the enemy to approach, make some distance essentially between them and us, while we're in stock, because the Jezzails have the stock thing, which is just so useful in these situations. And then once again continue to fire on the artillery afterwards. Alrighty, and getting a few more shots there, but yes, the artillery have now begun to target our Jezzails. The balance of power is still in the enemy's favor, but not nearly as much as I'm sure they'd like. One of the iron, or the Trollhammer torpedoes is done for, and it looks like one of these artillery pieces is done for as well, but they just have so many more where that came from. Man, certainly not a situation we've run into previously, where the enemy had more artillery than our Jezzails could deal with. But it's okay. Ikit gonna continue that Scorch spam. There we go, moving through infantry blobs this time. Did about, I don't know, 10 to 15% HP to one of those hammer units. For the 3 or 4 mana or whatever it is that it costs Ikit to cast that, it's really not so bad in terms of the amount damage dealt. Where is Scorch here? Probably missed it. Warp Lightning, Howling, Warp Gale, Scorch. There it is. 2 mana for the basic version of it, though it does no armor-piercing damage in the basic version. I don't remember if it does a little bit in the Overcast, but either way. Even if it doesn't, for 15% HP for 2 mana off a hammer unit, I think it is worth it. Alrighty, artillery continue to fire, but as we can see now, we are backing off some of our Warp Lightning, or not Warp Lightnings, our Jezzails, until they can get a nice new firing position on top of a hill and have a better vantage point. In the meantime, the enemy artillery is not in range of our artillery, so we can hit the enemy frontliners with pretty much impunity at this stage. There we go. And the Plague Claws and Ikit Zap are working. Looks like the Jezzails are firing once more as another one of the enemy organ guns has crested the hill and are thus a ripe target. There we go. Knock those things out before they can reach our own artillery and fire back, please. There we go. Pretty fun so far. The enemy balance of power has actually creeped towards our favor, and the enemy's lost about 600 units so far as well, so not so bad. Our own artillery pieces are doing fairly well, and the enemy has not even reached the avalanche mortars yet. There are still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units of artillery, 8 units of artillery that are still firing, and 9, 10 that are, the latter 2 are about to rout as well, but yeah. Still a lot of work for the Jezzails, who are unfortunately starting to run out of ammunition. Gonna have to be careful here. Might actually have to back off, and ooh, taking some hits there. Gonna have to back these guys off now after a few more shots, unless the cannons do a lot of damage. Or was that an organ gun? I guess it doesn't matter, because we're gonna go in stock so that they can see us no longer. There we go, another combo from Ikit coming in, a Brass Orb together with the Warp Lightning, and the Avalanche Mortars have now begun to fire as well. A poor little unit of Bugman's Rangers walked up while in stock, just like we were in stock, but only to run into Avalanche Mortars and Jezzails and get ripped apart. Alrighty, how are we doing here? Another unit of organ guns being targeted, and the enemy main host is now starting to move forward. Avalanche Mortars doing work. Oh, look at that hit. Giant Slayers lost, what, like 60% of their HP in a single volley? Absolutely fantastic. And now it's time to leave the tree line as our Warp Fire Throwers begin to move forward and burninate the remnants of these Giant Slayers, hopefully before they can reach us. Ikit's also getting targeted by the enemy's own Warp Fire Throwers, but through the tree, I don't imagine that's going to be all that effective either. And there we go. These poor Giant Slayers are going to be long gone before they can reach our main line. And the Avalanche Mortars make an absolute havoc in the enemy main line here as they move through the trees, so well done to that disgusting unit. The Eye Takers, Warplog Jezzails are still trying to run away from this unit of Rangers who is just chasing them, despite the fact that it technically can't see them, which is kind of interesting. So we're just going to try to have Ikit charge into these guys and block them off while the warp fire throwers obliterate them. And damn, these guys actually look fantastic with this color scheme too. I really like the Karakadrin color scheme on the Rangers as well. Very nice. Alrighty, well, they're gonna be out of there. There's a tomb wheel right behind them. It's like the train heading down the tunnel or something. And these guys are blocked now. Very nice, Ikit, exploding a bunch of them with that warp lightning shot. And let's see how we're doing. Balance of power is about 75, maybe 80% in our favor now. Our warp fire throwers are working and not allowing the enemy iron breakers to achieve anything, or at the very least not get close enough to chuck those blasting charges as yet. We are starting to take shots on our warp fire throwers as well, however, and just took a hit from our own avalanche mortars as well. But it does look like most of the enemy artillery has been seen off. 1, 2, 3, 4, well, I mean, 3 units still have HP. Nope, 4 units still have HP, but it doesn't matter, and because the enemy will fail. And getting out of these trees, they run into so many shots from the warp fires and artillery pieces, and even the rattling guns, that they just can't break through the tree line. The trees were the only thing keeping them alive, but blobbing up within the tree line meant that the avalanche mortars was destroying them there anyway. Oh, and once again the enemy fails to do really anything to Ikit. A few shots from the enemy, piles upon piles of artillery, did make it in and hurt a few of our units of Jezzails, but otherwise we were fine. We also took some... another hit to the warp fire throwers. They still have pestilent wind on them. Alright, damn it, avalanche mortar, you did more work for the enemy than... you did, well, probably not more than you did for us. You got 291 kills and 30k damage, and this is against the dwarf army, so it's quite a bit. Anyway, we're obviously going to chase down everything that the enemy has here. But yeah, since the enemy failed to counter us with an army that was almost purpose-built to counter us with all of those artillery, I'm not entirely sure what exactly the dwarves can do anymore to deal with Ikit's army in particular. Like, what is it that they could build to do so? Now, they can't build an air force because Howling Warp Gale would just destroy them all, and same with the Jezzails and the Rattling guns. And they can't build piles of artillery because clearly that failed. And any slow-moving infantry are gonna get wrecked as well. Probably not the faction to deal with Ikit's army in particular. Alrighty, well, a few more enemy units to knock out the enemy lords if we can pull it off, and the rest of our Jezzails and our Rattling guns moving up as well just to knock out anything that remains in the enemy force, but we can speed up through the rest of this. We are probably going to manage to destroy most of the enemy army, and we do get a heroic victory for our efforts as well. Very, very nice, Ikit. You always do great work. Alrighty, yep, again, and as usual, Ikit, well, these armies just stood no chance against his, and a heroic victory considering the enemy had some pretty good forces in tow, especially so many artillery pieces. I think that the most damage we took was, as usual, as nearly every battle, was due to a splash damage from our own avalanche mortars rather than from the enemy. And we can heal up to full as well, so we're gonna do so. Well, minus Ikit, but he'll heal via casting anyway, so I don't think he cares all that much. A little tiny underway interception, sure, we'll take it. A little bit of damage and 12 food, putting us to 100%, 1,000 out of 1,000 food. Very nice. And I guess then we'll heal up. No, but we're in our own territory. It offers us nothing. Well, I guess we'll take the tiny amount of money then. And another underway interception with a Pyrrhic victory this time. Furt. Well, well, well. Now, Plague Rogue's army is nowhere near completion. However, despite that, I feel like we should still probably fight. This is just for fun, and yeah, the underway interception tends to mean, or to me means, in this particular situation, that rather than going for Mount Gunbad, as they were supposed to do, these guys decided instead to try to attack us by jumping over Gunbad. Well, let's make sure that and this becomes their problem. Now let's take the... well, the Scarecrow Banner offers us nothing, but the Lichbone Pennant can go on... these guys are already magical damage, so are the Warp Fire Throwers, so are the Poison Winds, so are the Doom Wheels. I guess let's put it on one of these guys then. Alright, well, this is the only time this army will fight in this form, because Plague Rolk is going to have the Wheel Army, because Plague Rolk, and yes, based solely on the pun, but yeah, so he might as well enjoy these units while he has them. Alrighty, here we go. If it wasn't for the fact that I had intended another army for Plague Rolk, I feel like maybe I'd even keep this one. It's a fairly nicely balanced sort of force. We have a little bit of everything, and, well, I guess with the exception of melee troops, but, well, when you're using a Warlock Engineer, you may as well use Warp Fire Throwers instead of melee units anyway, or as your melee line. Plus, with Plague Rolk here, we got 4 Doom Wheels to play around with, which should be pretty fun. Let's see how this army measures up, and just sort of as a smattering of units cobbled together from other armies. And then perhaps we'll replace them as before, perhaps not. I don't know, I'll still think about it. Anyway, the Doom Wheels are going to trundle forward towards the enemy army, who is not yet in range of our artillery, but will be shortly. And will also be shortly in range of our Jezzails, who should begin to fire at any moment once we take position on those hills. Doom Wheels moving forward, we got that Brass Orb coming down on the enemy, and going to follow that up with a few other spells, and as well just try to annoy the enemy as best we can with the Warp Lightnings from the, well, the Warp Lightning shots from the Doom Wheels, I mean. In addition to that, our Plague Claws have begun to fire, and so have our Jezzails. The Plague Claws obviously going to target the enemy infantry piles, whereas the Jezzails are going to start working on the enemy trolls. We do have a very nice position here, with firing lanes existing for our Rattling Guns, and the fact that we have a reasonably high elevation should make quick work of any enemy that tries to move up this hill. Enemy trolls are not yet in trouble, but, well, they are starting to lose models to the Jezzails, and I imagine that, well, that's going to ramp up as we go. And of course the entire army can't catch the Doom Wheels, who are just acting as skirmisher cav, but can bolster the melee line if the enemy does, in fact, move in. The Rattling Guns have also now begun to fire. The enemy has foolishly gotten in range, but then what else can they do but get in range? There we go. Certainly reminds me of the way that Ikit's army functioned, and it is very similar to it in many respects, other than the, well, I guess even the Doom Wheels. Alright, there we go, and even the, oh my lord, even the Poison Winds getting a chance to fire their ammo as well, and the first units that have moved towards the kill are pretty much done for. The enemy's vanguard destroyed. The rear guard is also quite in trouble due to the fire from the Jezzails and the Plague Claws, and look at all that gorgeous warpstone ammunition. This is looking pretty ugly for the enemy. I'm not sure they're going to be able to reach the battle line at all, and in fact we're just going to move through their lines with our Doom Wheels at the same time as their first units get obliterated, and go after their Orc Error Boys and whatever else we can reach, summoning some Menace Below on them, and otherwise this enemy army is pretty much doomed. Most of the enemy forces have shattered, the Trolls have been pretty much focused down by our Jezzails, and very few remain. And the battle should be over any second. And there we go, get those last shots in there, Jezzails and Rattling Guns. I like how one of them is still firing. Oh, man. Alrighty, yeah, there's still a Lord running around, and it looks like a few of the enemy units are in vain trying to catch our Doom Wheels, but let's face it, that's not going to happen. I feel like the enemy Lord might have actually been able to reach our lines if he really tried, just by virtue of the speed of that wolf mount, but then again, on the other hand, he would have just gotten focused down by the Giselles, and there we are. Just like that, the rest of the army shatters, and this underway interception goes our way. Damn, that was pretty darn effective, and this is why you gotta love Skryre-focused armies. They're definitely the most fun. Oh man, did I miss this. This army may not have been Ikit's army, but we saw Ikit's army do its thing as well. But just the futility of the enemy charging into the rattling guns, into the warp fire throwers and Giselles, all while plague claws rain down fire from above and doom wheels shock everything and annoy any enemy backliners. Ugh, glorious, absolutely glorious. And definitely something that's missing from every single other campaign. In terms of what we've got here, well, we have 1,000 food out of 1,000 food, so it's not like we can take it. And it's pointless to heal because we had 2 losses and basically thus no damage. So I guess we'll take the tiny amount of cash once again. Alrighty, now let's see if we have anything else that's going to happen over the end turn. I am still curious to see... What do you want, Bellicor? Want us to declare war on the elves? Why would we bother with them? They have no territory that we want. Torox, you, and I love you, but you're still at war with Nagaron, and frankly, thus not super useful. In fact, you'd be a detriment to us. And, oh, Alberic didn't actually attack? Well, that's shocking. I wonder why. Refugees of War, Clan Gritus. Okay, sure, accept more refugees. Why not? What do we have here? You are at 9 out of 10 loyalty. We could get a foul pendant? Nah, we have a decent amount of these sorts of things, so I'd rather not screw up our loyalty any further. Punish in a less subtle way. And, yeah, the stolen thing, we've read this before, so punish. What do we have here? Medable, you're not losing 5 loyalty. That's insanity. Reward the Craven. And there we go. And that's it. And Alberic is really going to raid. Are you telling me you're afraid of Scalpite? You're afraid of this army. This is what concerns you so greatly. Interesting. Hey, Scalpite got himself a grand banner of clan superiority. Our frickin' slave army in turn 88. Oh, this army amuses me. Alrighty, Kalita never living for Bile Fitch, so we got diplomatic relations with vampire counts, but I think they're all dead, so that hardly matters. Morphific has perfect vigor now, though. That is a very nice pickup. And Cyprus Creator, authoritarian for Bok. Metable's ambush got foiled, but it hardly mattered. As... Hey, Corporal's Oil again. Fested, I don't know who you are and who you are either. Tech is going. Kawark has an Undercity. There's gonna be 50,000 confederations as usual. And there we go. Oh man, those end turns. And yeah, they're not sieging Mount Gunbad. You little cowards. You little cowards. And oh, Ungrim's been destroyed. Grompeak has fallen. Ungrim lies dead. The Mutant and Ikit Claw both approach. And hey, yeah, the plan of moving Ikit to near Castle Drakenhof did in fact work out. They actually attacked us. Beautiful. What I don't like is how Greasus is approaching this territory, because he's gonna want to take some of our territories. he is such a useless piece of garbage. I don't mean Greasus, I mean the Disciples of the Maw in general. They do absolutely nothing but occasionally take territories we want. And yeah, we're gonna blow up all their stuff with some warp bombs, but damn are they annoying. They're so annoying that it's probably better that we just betray them at some point. If only we didn't have Bok with a few Mournfangs that would then disappear. But still, anyway, once again we're out of time, and I am going to call the episode here. Next time, well, we advance pretty much everywhere. This is a new turn, and thus there's a dozen places where we could advance. Ooh, hello. More armies coming up. Yeah, that sounds like something fun for Corpable to do. So maybe we'll advance towards Granite Massif and see about that. There's Alberic, of course. Teclis is moving to Nahuantl, so that'll probably fall. Although, it does have some defenses. Maybe we'll build a temporary lord there just to try to deal with that. We'll attack Dawn's Light and then move to Fortress of Dawn to help out our precious ally, the Oracles of Tzeentch, just so that they don't annoy us with their nonsense. And, well, I'm not going to list the rest of the battles, potentially, because they're just everywhere. So, yeah, stay tuned for more. Don't forget to leave a like and comment, especially so late into the campaign, as that does determine the scheduling. All glory to the algorithm. And thanks for watching.